Okay. Welcome back.
Hello. Yeah, welcome back. Thank you. طيب, I'll reshare my screen. Okay.
Please. يلا بينا.
يلا بينا. Okay. يلا.
So firstly, قبل أي حاجة كنا عايزين نتكلم بس الأول عليكي. واحنا هنتكلم في ايه النهارده؟ دي نقطة برضو مهمة جدا.
أول حاجة أنا هقدم نفسي. I will introduce myself. مش عارفة أنت عايز نتكلم بالإنجليزي ولا بالعربي؟
As you
wish.
Whatever you
أنا I am an associate professor at the French University. I'm head of the department of architecture department. Originally I'm from Ain Shams University, so I finished my studies and Ain Shams University, and I went to Paris. I did my master's, my PhD, and I came back. And 2013 I went to the French University to teach architecture and French in Egypt. And since actually I am between Cairo, thank you. I'm between Cairo and Strasbourg, French city. Because we have a convention with INSA of Strasbourg, and I think you saw on my
yes.
On my affiche, my title, and actually me. Last year I founded the Le 51 Design House, so it's a virtual agence, architecture agency, where I do freelance projects and stuff, and here I am. So today we will be speaking about, or talking about how social resilience design actually can be a key for social resilience and vice versa. So in a time of crisis, of course, and that's we work. But at the beginning, I would like to thank you, Hisham. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be here with you on air and on this platform, this event, and to convene with other designers and architects through this great event. So thank you so much.
It's always an honor having you here with us in Cairodesignathon. Yes,
yeah,
that's true. And also it's an honor for us to have this session with you today. So we're very excited, all of us. We're having 22 participants right now from Cairodesignathon are watching us, and also other participants are watching us live. So that's very good because they
Hi everyone.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy the marathon, and I hope you're doing a great job. So I will start my talk, and I hope you like it. So actually, in the time of in the time of crisis, architects, designers, and planners, they have great responsibility towards their communities. We're well aware. So we have this certain proficiency to inspire, to motivate other citizens, especially towards changes that will take place. These changes will take place, of course, nowadays because we are in an unprecedented conditions. It's an epidemic, so COVID-19. Today, actually, it's a time where we all feel the most vulnerable and yet the most hopeful. Life becomes very precious, and we get to notice and to count on our blessings. We're touching our beloved ones becomes a hope and a wish, and toilet paper becomes a treasure. So, and we get also to hear oxymoron, slogans everywhere like "Stay home, life is beautiful." So it's a bit sarcastic. Today, social resilience is sorely tested. So it's put to the test. If we can sustain, the spirit that we are all in this together, the crisis may erode our social cohesion, and the collective action becomes nearly impossible. So at first, let me define what is social resilience, because I think it's a weird word. So the word resilience refers to the capability of going back to normal, actually to bounce back stronger. So after a hard experience or situation, it is the ability to become strong or successful again after difficult situation or event. And in social sciences, so which we use a lot, it's the ability of groups, of communities or population to cope with external stresses, whether these external stresses are due to social or political changes or force majeure or epidemics, etc., etc., etc. So actually, nevertheless, after this, gloomy introduction, the cloud of the coronavirus revealed a silver lining for all of us. We are all humans. We are all in the same boat. We are indifferent. And we all canceled our plans, but we never canceled our humanity. So we supported each other. We were there, the one for another, etc. And here I want to cite, one of my favorite French writer, the Prize Nobel winner, Albert Camus in The Stranger, when he said, I opened myself for the first time to the gentle indifference of the world. And actually, we all came to see that we are indifferent. The poorest one is like the richest one. We may have the money, but we don't have the mean. So we are all in this together.
Yes.
So on the one hand, most of us actually discovered the online learning or teaching, like myself, and the online charrette, like you do actually today, the Cairo Designathon, for architects and designers that can produce high quality plans, etc. And this crisis actually is putting this new technology to the test. And quickly honing skills that can be used through these platforms will be used to augment our design capabilities and capacities when the nation returns to normal afterwards. On the other hand, design process during crisis can effectively be a key for social resilience of our community, while social resilience itself is a key to emerging from the crisis stronger and better. But we need actually to do according to the standard of Stockdale paradox, we have to retain our faith that we will prevail at the end, but regardless of the difficulties, of course, but at the same time, we must confront the most brutal facts of our current reality, whatever it might be. So we have to acknowledge that we are in an unprecedented situation, the conditions are not the same, it's a novelty for us, etc., etc., etc. So public health and social resilience are in fact emerging as imperative keys for design, whether it's urban architecture or whatever design is. So now everybody talks about, public health, social resilience, etc. And for example, like all the cities after this or during this crisis, they started dialogues, they started to ask questions about what a resilient neighborhood would like to be or would be like actually when it comes to disaster preparation. What about physical well-being, emotional well-being, and how can we apply all these concepts in the built environment fairly, meaning that everybody should benefit from these concepts and these well-being issues, etc. Resilience itself is not a goal, it's a process actually. So we don't do things in order to go to resilience. Actually, it's a process through which we will test things, we will go through like situations, conditions, etc., in order to achieve sustainable resilience at the end. And when we achieve resilience, social resilience, we will achieve sustainability. And everybody speaks about sustainability, of course, whether it's economic, urban,
social and also economics and everything.
So it's not a goal, it's a process. It's like art, it's like design. It permeates and shapes our cultures, and constitutes responsive generative ground that invigorates individuals, neighborhoods, communities, institutions, and society, etc. Because actually resilient societies can adapt rapidly, and creatively and constantly to changing conditions, whether it's, political or force majeure, as I said, epidemic, etc. Strengthening the social resilience is not an option; it's an imperative, as I said, because actually, we will be able to shift our focus. We can provide for the vulnerable, and we can reorder priorities and generate adaptive arrangements that address known and unanticipated change. Most of us as architects, and I'm one of you, we care deeply about these problems, especially in the time of Corona, all these problems entwined, with the built environment, with the climate, with the health, etc. But I suspect we portray an over-idealistic vision as usual. So we need to set, like a manual in order to proceed to have, but we need actually, in this case, we need, to apply during this crisis, to have at first a paradigm shift and to apply an approach of social resilience where everyone contributes and everyone participates.
Yes.
So it's because it's about all of us. So each and every one of us should participate.
Mm-hmm.
We need to implicate more diverse perspectives that have different lived experience from the lived space, lived spaces, according to Lefebvre, the French sociologist. And, these perspectives that won't have the savior complexes, because I'm an architect, I know better, and etc., etc. No, actually, we need to exclude this complex of the savior, okay?
Yep.
And we know that subconsciously we all do. So we need, like new perspectives that are willing to challenge norms, that dare to be optimistic.
Randa,
so,
I wanted to disturb you a bit in this point about the resilience. And I want to ask you about this because, yes, as you were saying, we as architects or designers or whatever, or actually engineers, this kind of egoish way of thinking. So I think after the pandemic and after COVID-19, I think we have to be more humble and we have to think more about being in this all together, because it's a new thing for all of us. And this is what we're facing here, by the way, in Cairo Designathon. As you can see, we're having attendees or applicants that some of them are holding PhD and some of them are holding masters and some of them are very expert designers and some of them are new designers and some of them are still students, but we're all here because we're facing this for the first time together, and we're trying to find solutions or actually assume or design some of the solutions for the first time about this during and after the pandemic. So that's really, really interesting. We couldn't think that the humanity could think like this, but suddenly after the pandemic, we started to find it, and we found ourselves like that humble, and we're thinking.
We were coined, all of us, like.
You're right.
Yeah. Right. So actually, I will give you, like a glimpse of how can we cope, how can we lead, to manage, and how to design, actually, while being resilient at the same time. At first, we need to distinguish that we are in a true crisis event. It's not, like a routine, difficult thing. No, it's a true crisis event, and it's constituted by a situation in which we don't have great deal of familiarity. So we are all in the same situation, and it's the first time for all of us. Yes. There is no existing manual, neither do we have a script on how to perform. There's a significant element of novelty, and no one knows what to do, as I said. So we need to shift our perspective. We need to go to an innovation, like to have a real approach of problem solving, and
yes,
this is our fundamental challenge to the situation, to make them know that and to realize that. So we need to be acquainted with all the conditions that surround us in the time being in order to proceed. As Professor Dutch Leonard from the Harvard Business School said, the crises are like fountains. They come with a lot of questions, with a lot of decisions, and actually competing priorities. So we do have a lot of questions. We don't have the answers, so we need to know our way through. We need to move forward in order to know our way through. During the pandemic, actually, we discovered the virtual platforms, as we do in Cairo Designathon. We can employ them effectively and sincerely. As I truly am convinced that we can do that in consultation processes, so we can gather a lot of people together that aims at effecting unified proposals or concerted actions that may serve people and their well-beings without marginalizing anyone or any group of the population. So what designers actually need to do is to take all their expertise, all their imagination, and to convene a process of design thinking.
Yes.
This process of design thinking, it's about, it's an approach, it's an experimental approach, problem solving experimental approach that catering for resilience. So actually it leads to resilience. So actually we have the 5 steps of design thinking. I will actually define what is. At first, it's an iterative approach to problem solving that intentionally seeks out people with different perspectives, knowledge, skills, and experience, and has them work together to create a practical solution for a real world problem. And it has 5 steps. So at the beginning, we need to empathize. So we need to speak, we're all the stakeholders. We need to ask an open-ended questions. And the goal is to learn about the problem from multiple perspectives. And to define the problem, so the second steps is to define. We need to synthesize at this step in order to arrive at a group of concepts that states what problem needs to be solved and from which perspective and from which angle, and to identify the scope and true nature of our problem. And then ideate, so we need to bring ideas together, however wild they are, however impractical they are, we need to bring them all together in order to brainstorm, actually, as we do now. So we can find solution for the problem, and then we prototype. So we do a mock-up for the solution we found. We to be able to acquaint all the possibilities, and at the same time to weed out all the impractical solutions that came out, or the ideas that came out, and then we test on the solid ground, we test on the reality. And because, as I said, it's a novelty for us, so of course we might not arrive to the solution or to the best answer from the beginning. We are allowed to to make mistakes, to learn from our mistakes, to reset and to start and to learn, etc., etc., etc. So this is maybe my advice for today. So to keep humble, as you said, to work together, to stay together while staying at home, maybe, and maybe we'll find solution, and we can find, a roadmap that will allow us to proceed, in the most effective way. And thank you so much.
Through what you're doing in Cairodesignathon. Thank you very, very much, Randa, for your talk today. It was very cheerful and giving us a lot of positivity, literally. Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
And you're most welcome. Thank you for being here with us in Cairodesignathon. And we are also calling our participants, if there is, we're having 4 minutes to finish. So if you're having any questions, we're having Dr. Randa with us. If you're having any questions or any inquiries or things that you're thinking about that you can share with us, you can send it to us here. We're still having 4 minutes to finish. And on behalf of the whole Cairodesignathon, I'm thanking you a lot, Randa, for being with us. And tell us what you're doing, how you're working, and how you're dealing with design process and all of what you're doing. I know you're having a lot of responsibilities nowadays. So what you're doing during the quarantine and during this lockdown, how you survive?
Actually, the key for my to exist during the quarantine for me was to establish a routine. Like I have to wake up every day in a certain time and to shower and to get dressed and to be at home to do whatever I'm going to do. Either, to have the classes, the e-learning classes, because I teach still, and we do charrette and atelier via,
You can stop sharing your screen in order to see you better, in a better way, because we're not sharing any data.
Okay. So so I established a routine. So I wake up every day and I get to, either do my classes on Zoom or, see with my children what they are going to do for the day, because they have, you know, like e-learning classes as well. And at the same time, sometimes I have to admit, I receive my students, especially those who are in graduation projects. Sometimes I receive them at home because we need to work sometimes face to face. So I couldn't resist that, because you know, it's the end of their, you know, of their graduation project. So it's very important. And at the same time, I discovered, I started to paint a lot.
Yeah, I know this.
And
I know this.
Yeah, and I became to like
you
it.
You can see in the background, actually.
Yeah. And I became to like it a lot, and I will continue. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And I continue to do my work via, you know, we have established actually since very long ago this work via, you know, like Drive or WhatsApp or whatever, because sometimes I used to work with my ex-students and they tend to leave, you know, to do their masters abroad. So we kept the contact, etc. And that's it. So as everyone else, we'll try to keep it up, to keep it positive, and to stay at home.
Exactly. Thank you, Randa, very much for the talk.
You're welcome.
Today. And thank you for the positivity. And we're looking forward to see you every now and then in Cairo Designathon. And please,
I would love to.
Yes, please be with us always. Thank you very much. And we have to say to everyone, thank you for watching us. And you have also the contacts. And if you're having any questions to Randa,
don't hesitate.
The session, please don't hesitate to contact her or send any messages. Thank you very much for watching. And this is the end of our live today. Thank you for being with us. And
bye.
Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.